Well, affordable housing is obviously one of the things that makes gentrification possible. There isn't very much of it, right? Because people then get squeezed out. A lot of the research shows that when the initial entry of wealthier people into community come in, that there's actually an improvement of the living conditions for everybody. But over time, what happens is that there's a kind of snowball effect, and eventually landlords begin to realize that they can make a lot more money by renting to people who have more income. They begin to squeeze people out. So there has to be a better enforcement of some of the rent regulation laws. There has to be better enforcement of eviction laws and that kind of thing to prevent the kind of abuses that takes place in a lot of communities. We've seen what happens in some places where people living in some units actually get burned out. They pay someone to come burn the building so they can throw everybody out and rehab the entire building and charge enormous amounts of money for people to rent and buy into those buildings. So it's not enough simply to provide home ownership, because so many of our people cannot afford to buy even a very low cost housing. It's just not possible. So there has to be a number of different things to make that less abusive than what it is. But it is a process that is hard to stop, because it's based on market principles. And so, as far as I know, we still have a capitalist society which encourages that kind of market behavior.
Well, a lot of people in the rest of the country really don't understand New York's situation, because we've had a system in one form or another of rent control, call it what you will, rent stabilization, rent control, for a long, long time, which affects the dynamics of the market. Is it really possible for somebody like a Vincent Morgan to understand the housing equation in New York City, do you think?
I think it's possible. I mean, obviously, when you run for office, you have to understand policy because of an interview with somebody like yourself, or a debate with different groups, good government groups. That the people are obviously well versed in the intricacies of policy and politics. So I think it seems like he did his homework on the issue of affordable housing. What I think happens in the city that's not talked about enough is this underground economy that's always existed in this city, where, for example, a person may have a affordable housing unit, and what happens is they're renting rooms. There's a whole economy of people, in some cases, largely immigrants, that are not the tenants on that lease. They, in some cases, rent the room from the tenant. And because,
sometimes they rent the bed by the hour.
And that's how some people have been able to stay in areas like Washington Heights, Inwood, possibly Harlem, and that's not being talked about enough. Also, the equation that's used to determine the affordable housing, it is my understanding, and Dr. Sanchez, you're here to correct me if I'm wrong, that parts of Long Island, it's not just the 5 boroughs that are factor in. So in some cases, a blue-collar worker who's just getting by may not qualify for that unit that's going in for a family of 2. If you're making $40,000, you can combine, you can apply for this apartment. But how about if you're just getting by and you're making a little over that? You don't qualify, because again, that's skewed in the numbers. So there is no real determinant.